All right, so today we're going to be looking at Jujutsu, right? That's the idea. So in the Budo Rikai, we have 7 traditions. Today we'll be focusing primarily on Tenjin Ryu Jujutsu, not any of the other 6, okay? The other 6 traditions that we have. Now, Tenjin Ryu Jujutsu, I think that to start the seminar, I want to make sure that we define certain things so you guys understand where I'm coming from. Because I think a lot of times people use terms that you see in the media or in sports or combat sports, MMA, and you hear certain terms and then you kind of create your own definition of the word. Jujutsu is not what you think it is from the MMA world. It was primarily used the idea of what we call Ju. So you have Ju and then Jutsu. Jutsu means the art or technique. Ju means gentle, pliable, adapting. That's what Ju means. So Jutsu means the art, the gentle art, or the art of being adaptive, or the art of being pliable, or the art of being flexible, right? And that's what that kanji Ju means. Depends on how you use it in the sentence, but it means you're supposed to be very adaptive, very pliable, very flexible within the fight. So Jujutsu, although Jujutsu does incorporate Kensetsu Waza, which is locking, Shimi Waza, which is choking, Nage Waza, which is throwing, Ne Waza, which is ground fighting, they also incorporate many other things. So I don't bore you guys to death. I'm not going to go down the many other things. But what I am going to say, so we can talk about definitions, is if you take this complete art of Jujutsu, this way of combat on the battlefield, and you extract Nage Waza, throwing technique, you extract Kensetsu Waza, locking technique, you extract Shimi Waza, choking technique, and you extract the Ne Waza, or grappling techniques, that's Judo. Judo was created off of Jujutsu. It was created by Kano. Judo are the locks, chokes, throws, and grappling of Jujutsu. But Jujutsu has many other things that was meant for the battlefield. Follow me on this? The Gracie family studied Judo, and they go back and call it Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. They became really big. So because they became really big and their art flourished in combat sports, and by no means am I taking a shot at BJJ, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That's not the thing. I'm teaching a historical point. This isn't about what art is better. This is just a historical point. He studied Judo, he goes back and calls it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it became BJJ, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, or whatever, right? And then the story goes from there. But my point is, let's say you look at UFC, you see Ronda Rousey, and she goes in there and she throws them and she rolls around and she locks them and chokes them. That's Judo. Everyone says Ronda Rousey does Judo. That's exactly what BJJ is too. They're just using the word incorrectly. Jiu-Jitsu was meant for the battlefield. Now I'm going to give you guys one example of how they're different. So when Kano decided to create Judo, right, and he changed it and things of that nature, and there's a reason why he changed it. That's not for this class right now. I'm going to give you an example. Come here, Mr. Dupree. If Dupree throws this punch here, and I'm going to go and say I'm going to do the Jiu-Jitsu or the Koryu version of Ippon Seoinage. When he throws the punch, I would parry it off. His elbow is up. I would be breaking his arm as I'm throwing him over on his head. There's no way in the position of his arm, when I do this throw, Ippon Seoinage, I'm breaking the arm, I'm dumping him on his head. That is the classical version of how to do it. Then you pull your sidearm, your weapon, take him out, you move to the next one. That's the way Jiu-Jitsu is supposed to be taught. Well, that doesn't work in the time when Kano was trying to create Judo. Other things were flourishing at the time. The Do arts in Japan, so anything before 1868 is called Koryu Bujutsu. Koryu, those are the age of the samurai. You see Jujutsu, Taijutsu, Daken Taijutsu, etc., etc. Those kind of arts. Ninjutsu, Bujutsu, Kobujutsu. Gendai Budo after 1868. Those are the Do arts. Judo, Aikido, Karate Do, Iaido, Kendo, do. So how can we take this art where I can take this, I can break his arm and throw him on his head? How do we take that and make it Do, meaning the way? I'm going to pivot here, and now when he bends his arm, it moves his body or his structure a certain way that when I do the same exact throw, now when he falls, he's going to fall correctly. He's going to fall in a way where it doesn't hurt him. I can still do the throw, but I'm not breaking his arm, and he's going to fall not on his head. So even though mechanics are the same technique, they're vastly different in their application and what the end result is supposed to be. And that's the biggest difference between classical Jiu-Jitsu and modern Judo, right? So I want to paint that picture because everyone tends to think what you see in the UFC is what Jiu-Jitsu really is, and that's what the modern idea of what people think Jiu-Jitsu is. It is the concept of Jiu, and I will give it that. The idea of flexible, beating them that way. Now, when you do use Jiu-Jitsu techniques, which you'll find today, is we're going to use the energy against them. So the technique we just looked at it's a basic technique against the right grab. We're counter grabbing, Sakame Uke, lifting over to Urakote, pushing down with Takegatami, stepping in front, Omote Shiranage, going to the left knee, still Takegatami as I post, I slide down in position and I move into Udegatami, and then from there we would do Toeyashi and then cover back out, right, in position. Now, this particular technique we're going to do is we're going to look at the same concept. We're going to look for a couple different angles. Kata doesn't teach you how to fight. Kata teaches you the philosophies and principles that you can use in a fight. So people tend to take it a little bit out of context. So let's look at the same principles and philosophies of that particular motion from a couple different angles. Mr. Dupre's going to come in with the right punch, right foot lead. He's going to put it right there, right on the nose there. And as he does that, I'm going to push off. There's the same position as I parry through, come back, and into the lock. Now, did you see how when he came back with the rush? Do it again. As he comes back in, I'm going to push off. There's the position. Sweep. Post, Udegatami, and then back in, right? Now, we can also, depending on the position of where he's at, is what's going to give us a different opportunity. If you go behind me, that's sweet. If he gives me a grab to the shoulder right here, all I'm going to do is make sure that this hand, see this here, instead of the counter grab and working with the wrist, I'm just simply going to take the hand and come underneath, and then take down. And then again from here, we get the lock, and then we come back through. So still using the principles of an old kata. Even if you change the angle, it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3. You just simply go to the position of where you are to effectively do the technique. I know you know it, but do you guys understand what I'm talking about? So now we're going to look at the same concept versus a punch, and then from a rear grab, and see if you can apply those same principles to that particular attack, okay? So let's look at that again. He's going to give me a push, over the top, down, check the hand down, up, oso to dry, and then in with the nakajimi. Pull, oso to dry, go down to yoko shiogatami. We're going to practice pulling it into udegarami. Post, step over, udegatami, twist through, jujigatami. Keisagatami, yoko shiogatami, tate shihogatami, grab, dojimi, and then shizen tate dojimi. Once you guys get to here, I want you guys to then practice the arm bar. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want her going this way, I'm going to simply post, and as I push through, I'm holding high, cross, up, and so he's going to lock up. And from here, what I'm going to do is I want you guys to grab on to the gi. And when you grab the gi, you're going to do it palms down, and you're going to try to push it across the throat. And when I say stack, see how he's got his legs crossed around my hips? I'm going to stack up. Once I stack, I'm going to take his gi, cross the throat, I'm going to put it in there until I choke him out. I'm going to put my whole body weight, I'm going to take his gi, I'm going to run it across his throat, I'm going to put my whole body weight down on his throat, I'm going to choke his ass out. You understand? So we're here, he pulls guard, claw his face, punch or whatever, I grab, I'm going to stack, I'm going to put it right into his neck until he's done.